Plastic is not an inexpensive material for us to use. Who's paying the price of this? We pay the price. We pay the price with our health, the environment, the ocean, our waterways, our neighborhoods being polluted and looking disheveled and unsightly. But the thing is, if you market things at people and you repeat it to them enough, then they believe you, right? So plastic is not a cheap material. I'm Deanna Cohen. I was born in Hollywood, California in the United States, and I am a co-founder of and I'm the CEO of the Plastic Pollution Coalition. We're a global coalition. We were founded in the end of 2009. Since then, we have grown to over 700 NGOs and businesses around the world. We're on from 60 countries, and we are working to stop plastic pollution and to raise awareness about the toxic impact on human health, animal health, the ocean and waterways, and the environment. So we really are trying to take a big picture view of this problem and work on it at every level. Support groups that are working on a grassroots level on everything from beach and river and environmental cleanup to groups that are working on turtle habitat restoration or preservation, to groups that work with students and educating students in schools, to engagement with businesses and corporations to create more extended producer responsibility, to policy and legislation and bans and whatever it's going to take to measurably reduce single-use plastic. Well, I would say plastic is such a new material. It was really only discovered and common to use in the last 100 years and at this big kind of consumption rate in the last 50 years. The problems that we see with plastic are this. Plastic is toxic from the beginning until the end, and it doesn't go away. So from extraction and war, all the way through production and manufacturing, to it is toxic when we use it for our health, when we package food and beverages, etc. in it. And then it immediately becomes a waste disposal issue, an ocean dumping issue, and then once it gets into the environment or the ocean or waterways, it breaks into smaller bits, it breaks down from the sun, from wave action, it's ingested by the entire marine chain, and it comes back to us again if we depend on sea life as our primary protein source. What I like to say about plastic is it's this incredible material. But when we use it and we design with it for intended obsolescence, so when we design things that are meant to be used for a very short amount of time, this is an irresponsible use of a valuable material. And most people don't know that plastic is primarily made from oil and petroleum. Many, many people don't know that. And then even some of the solutions that people are developing using corn or bioplastics, plastics made from plants, just changing the carbon source, is still bad because we're adding phthalates and bisphenols, these different groups of chemicals that have been identified as being estrogenic or endocrine disruptors. So they impact us, human health. These chemicals, phthalates and bisphenols, BPA, BPB, BPC, BPS, BPZ, these chemicals have been linked to many, many human health issues, including lower sexual function, sterility and infertility, breast cancer, brain cancer, and prostate cancer, lower IQ in children, babies in utero who are exposed to these chemicals. It's been linked to shortened anogenital distance, to smaller penis size, to feminization of boys, so boys getting breasts, to early menses in girls. Any one of these things, to me, is enough information. Just to know that there's a link there is enough information to make me look at my use of this product and try to figure out how to reduce it in my own life, for myself, and for my family. So it's an incredible material when we use it wisely. But unfortunately, we don't use it wisely, particularly for plastic bottled beverages or plastic bottled water. And people have this we live in this fantasy that that the whole problem is just that the problem's been put on us, the consumer, as if we need to do a better job of recycling. We just need to recycle better. We need to put it in the garbage can. This is not true. What's happened is industry has pushed the responsibility onto the public and consumers, and that is false. It's just false. And in fact, it's wrong. And so we would like to see extended producer responsibility, holding corporations and companies accountable to take back 100% of their packaging. That's what we'd like to see. And we'd like to have everyone around the world move and begin to think, how do we live in a zero waste way? Nature doesn't create any waste. We are part of nature. We're not something separate from nature. We are part of nature. We're animals. We're part of nature. How do we move in this direction so that we are creating less waste, so we're creating no waste, so we're creating zero waste? How do we do that? And you can look to many traditional things in different countries, from India, from all different countries, of using banana leaves or as plates or things to eat with, coconuts, calabash, utilizing clay or unfired clay to drink tea, using glass, which is not going to impact our health in the same way, or using wood or bamboo. We have all these materials, stainless steel. We have all these materials that are available to us. Why? Why are we using this material, which has been given a false sense of being inexpensive or cheap? Plastic is not a cheap material. If you look at the entire life cycle chain of plastic, as I said, it's expensive when it comes to extraction, war, how it compromises people's health who work in the petrochemical industry, processing petroleum, kind of growing and cultivating petroleum. It's a dangerous field for people to work in. People who work in companies that process these materials and add these other chemicals to it. In China, men who work in companies that are using bisphenol A to create plastics have a 40 to 60% drop in their sexual function. That is not something that is cheap. That's expensive. And then it's coming back at us because we've suddenly created all this waste just from buying some food, right? It would be amazing, wouldn't it, if fruit came with its own peel or package? Oh wait, it does. So why are we wrapping everything up in plastic? Oh, banana has a peel. An orange comes with a peel. It's like, why don't we just use what we live on this incredible planet, it's just such a miracle. It's amazing. And then we're told by groups that have been created by industry that we just need to put it in the bin, that we just need to keep America beautiful, that we just need to give a hoot, don't pollute, that we need to, and I say all these things in this like silly way because they're ridiculous. They're ridiculous. And I mean, for me personally, when I was a teenager, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, which was estrogen receptive. It's interesting to me because originally I was studying biology in university. And then at some point I decided I was trying to study art and science. It was not possible 30 years ago. So I changed my focus and I began to work only in art. Then I started making artwork out of plastic bags. I was cutting up and sewing back together, showing them in galleries and foundations and museums. And through working with my material, I began to learn things about the plastic. And it brought me full circle back around to co-founding Plastic Pollution Coalition, to running it, to working with a lot of people, to having a whole scientific advisory board, and learning all of these things and learning that no, this comes back and it actually affects you. That the chemicals used to make plastic have been linked to breast cancer, have been linked to the thing that killed my mother. So I'm pretty angry actually about it. And I think we should all get a little bit angry. And I think that we should begin to ask for and demand that our products are packaged differently. And if they're not, and if we are lucky enough and privileged enough to live in a situation where we have a choice, then we need to make the less toxic choice or the healthier choice. And if we don't have that, then we need to fight to make that available for everyone. Because people who live in a lower income community, they can't go to the market and say, oh, do you have that in glass? It's not possible. But wherever you can, I think it's really important to go to open farmers markets, grow food if you can grow food, come with your own little basket or your own reusable bags. There are so many little things we can do. I carry bamboo utensils with me in my purse. I carry stainless steel straws because I like to drink iced tea and things with my straw. And whenever I go out, I say, hi, I'd like an iced tea. No straw. Please don't put any plastic in my drink. And that's what I say to people. And it creates a lot of interesting conversations, and we're seeing a big movement right now here in the United States and in many other countries around the world to get rid of plastic straws, to change the protocol so that you don't automatically get served one, but you must request it, to get people to change to paper or metal or bamboo or wood or glass, other kinds of straws. So I think it's really important for us to look around us, look for the options that are available right now, not wait for some magical thing that hasn't been invented yet, and to make smarter choices every day. No. Look, for many years we've lived with this idea that then you put it in the recycling bin or things get recycled. What is the reality of recycling? Recycling might be part of the solution, but if things have no value because it's cheaper to buy virgin plastic, then you don't have a system that is a cycle. It is not a circular system. It is a cradle-to-grave system, and that is not sustainable. And that is why it's coming back to bite us. That is why we're finding all this plastic in the ocean, all this plastic in rivers, and now we're finding microfibers in 100% or whatever of, drinking water, bottled drinking water. It's kind of crazy. So we are plastic. We are bionic. Who knows? And I think that it's interesting that humankind is evolving so that we can tolerate a certain threshold of chemicals, because the other problem with plastic is when it's in the ocean, it's also absorbing other persistent organic pollutants to the surface. So you're getting like a plastic chemical bomb, basically. Recycling can work if you're in a city or a town which has an infrastructure to support it. But if different materials don't have value, and at the moment, only plastic bottles seem to have some value, not the caps and not many other plastic packaging, right? And some of it, or quite a bit of it, including polystyrene, give off toxins that are being leached into the food and the beverages. So we're potentially poisoning ourselves with it. It's toxic. So, recycling is a really nice idea, but it only works if there's an infrastructure to support it. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, how does eating and drinking all of our foods out of plastic packaging impact our health? We now know a lot about that, and it appears that it doesn't affect our health in a positive way. So once we know that, what is it that we can do to create change and to reduce the amount of exposure that we have personally in our own life, for our children, for our family, in our workplace, in our school, in our city, in our town, to change that so that people are not exposed to as many toxins, there are some people who would like plastic to be designated as a toxic substance. Maybe we'll see that one day. Plastic Pollution Coalition is a global coalition. So we have many, many different members, and they all work on different aspects of the plastic pollution problem. There are some groups that we work with who do engagement, shareholder engagement, corporate engagement. There are groups who are just focused on creating legislation. We've been building a global plastic reduction legislative toolkit. So that should be completed by the end of this year. So we're creating a toolkit that will be accessible to people all over the world so that they can find information and share things that they did in order to create change. But we also work with groups that are focused only on animal health or only on human health and the impact, or only studying how the plastic BPA lining in canned food in the United States has been linked to breast cancer. There are groups that are very specific and only studying specific things. And then there are groups of students and kids creating movements, creating legislative action, creating new companies. There's all different kinds there's really cool stuff happening. I feel like it's the Wild West, if you know that expression. It's a very exciting time. It's an exciting time both for innovation, but also for change. And it's a good time, I think, for people to wake up. Young people are really interested in this DIY, do-it-yourself. How do we reuse things? How do we think about materials in a different way so that our focus is not just on consumption, throw away, because that is the model we're living in right now, and it is not sustainable. And then, I mean, I would say everyone is invited to join Plastic Pollution Coalition, and it's very simple. You just go to the website, and you can join as an individual, or you can join as a business or an NGO, an organization. Well, I've seen a couple interesting things. There's a company called Ecovative, and they've been growing a substitute for polystyrene, for styrofoam, out of mushroom mycelium. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening with mushrooms right now, and that I'm interested in. There's some interesting work that's being done with trying to upcycle or recycle plastics. I don't personally believe in that for things that are going to contain food or beauty or skin products, body products. I don't believe in that. That's just me privately, but there's lots of groups working on things like that, and I'm sure there'll be good uses for it. There are also people exploring things made out of algae or seaweed. So those are some of the really promising things that I've seen. I also think there's a resurgence of design around using glass, using ceramics and clay, using plant-based things. So I really haven't seen bioplastic that's not toxic as well. It seems that they still have the same chemical additives like bisphenols and phthalates, so you're really just changing the carbon source. It's not that different. So I haven't seen that in a really great way yet, but I'm looking forward. I know that there's a bag made out of cassava right now, but they've said if you're walking home from the market and it starts raining, it could dissolve. So, we're gonna have to figure out different uses. But it's amazing because as soon as you realize something like this, you're like, oh my God, when did everything switch to plastic? When did that happen? It happened in my lifetime, So. I think that there is room for consumers to get involved with this issue of plastic pollution on many different levels. You can get involved in a very personal, individual way, just in changing your own habits and thinking reuse, so not taking disposable things every day, not going to a coffee shop and taking disposable cups, bringing your own cup every day. You'll actually be rewarded. There are many places in the United States that reward you now. If you come in with your own cup, you get a discount. So you can do it, kind of DIY at an individual level. You can do it with your kids or your family. I've seen a lot of interesting stuff happening in schools and kids becoming educated and activated. You can also do it at a business level with, again, engagement with your place of work or a corporate engagement and putting pressure as a shareholder in a company. And then as well, you can look at ways to create legislation and policy that will help support a more positive direction that we can go with this, which will measurably reduce it. So I think that there's room for people to work on every level. And if you care about animals and turtles, then work on that. If you care about babies and children, then work on that aspect of it. Whichever part of it resonates with you or connects with you in your heart, in your head, in your throat, in your stomach, whatever part you feel you relate to, that is your way into this issue. So I think it touches everything, and it's a game I like to play when I meet total strangers, just to see if there's any kind of overlap in what they're doing and how plastic pollution might affect or impact what they're doing. And it's quite rare that I meet someone that's not affected by it. One of the things that we're really looking forward to is working together towards a world free of plastic pollution. That's it.